Hello everyone, it's Thumper the Rabid Rabbit. In this episode of my Rust Electricity 101 component guide, I'm going to cover the electrical branch, or the electrical branch, if you will. This is my personal favorite way to split power apart. Even though the splitter is a pretty easy component to use, and you can divide things three ways, the electrical branch lets you basically split things two ways, but it is configurable. And I love that it's configurable. It's also cheaper than the splitter. It only costs 3 high-quality metal on most servers. So if you only need to split power two ways, or if you need to control how much power is split, this is the solution for you. Let me show you how it works. You bring input power into the bottom of it, and on the top we have a power out and a branch out. These are the two outputs that it's going to provide power through. By default, and its minimum setting, is 2 units of power. So regardless of what you do, you're always going to end up with the first 2 units of power coming out of the branch. The power out takes everything else that's left over. So here we see that there's power coming in. The electrical branch itself consumes 1 unit. It outputs 2. This display uses 1 unit, leaving 1 left for the display. And the power out is sending out the rest of the power to this side, where 231 are coming in, and it's displaying 230 because the display itself consumes 1 unit of power. Why do I love this so much? Because if I only need, say, 10 units of power to go run a string of lights, I can come here and say 10. And those 10 units of power will go down this branch, and everything that's left over can go and charge a battery or run a number of other circuits that I may need a certain amount of power for. Rather than using a splitter, which would immediately cut the power in half here and send far more of this down the electrical branch that I have here than I would need. The other thing you can use this for is a little more advanced, but you can use it as a threshold trigger. You can look at some of my other videos on how to configure threshold triggering using an electrical branch, but the basic concept is, if you have something connected to the power out that you're trying to trigger with electricity, and you set this number here higher than what's coming in, you'll notice that all the power goes out the branch, and none of it goes out to this display or the component that you'd like to trigger. However, if this power keeps going up, or if I set this threshold lower, there will be power left over, and it'll trigger the device that's connected to the power out. This is fantastic for solutions like triggering lights or a blocker off of solar power. When the solar power gets too low, and the trigger is no longer affected by the power coming out of the power out because there's none left to go over here, you can turn on a battery or lights or any number of other components that you want to trigger based on the threshold of power that you have coming in. But again, I'll cover that advanced topic in some other videos. To recap, the electrical branch is my favorite way to split power, especially when you only need to branch off a certain amount of power, or when you only need to split things two ways. It's cheaper, it's configurable, it's smaller, and you can also place it on walls and floors, whereas you can't put a splitter on the floor. My favorite component, the electrical branch.